And scientists find X-rays coming from Uranus. Well, why have scientists been looking at my ass? You tell me that, huh, scientists? Quit looking at my ass. It's my anus, it's not your anus. Hello and welcome to Too Busy Didn't Know. That's TBDK with me, Go Joe. If you're listening to this podcast, just know that there is a visual component to this. You can go onto YouTube and look up TBDK and actually see the show to see what I'm talking about. And also when I'm not talking about a specific story, we have a nice window behind me. Right now, it should be Kiev. If I put it up on the YouTube, it's Kiev, Ukraine, looking over the city. It's awesome view of both green, nice green, like forest looking, plus the city. It looks like a really beautiful city. I've never been to Kiev, but yeah, I'm digging the look of it. But let's get into the stories. We got 10 of them for today, starting with the largest game cheating ring busted in China. There's eDNA, or environmental DNA, where we are pulling DNA from the air. It's pretty interesting. A single shot that restores vision to the blind. There's a program called Deep Nostalgia that is actually getting a little deep creepy. There's UV cleaning of planes. Hacker TV, what's that? Keep listening and find out. Facebook leaked data for 500 plus million people. Find out if you're one of the people affected. A wireless brain connection to a computer. We got server baths. And finally, my favorite story for this week, and the last one, is a space hotel is now taking reservations, so you can finally book your trip to space. All that and more on today's TBDK. Welcome again to the show. I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, you know, all that jazz helps me grow this channel. And we might have found a new home on a website called indiehackers.com. Nice little forum where entrepreneurs and technical people get together and discuss growth hacking, entrepreneurship, startup news. I think it's the perfect place for a podcast like this. So stay tuned, as I might be having a new home for this podcast soon. But let's get into the first story of the day, which is the largest game cheating ring busted over in China. Sorry, Ukraine, your window is amazing, but we're going to talk about China here real quick. As you can see here, police bust the world's biggest video game cheat operation. This happened over in China. They were cheating in games like Overwatch and Call of Duty Mobile. And you could actually do it on a subscription basis for roughly 76. That is their revenue. They were bringing in $76 million USD, or 55 million in pounds. I guess this is a British article. Police seized assets worth 46 million, including several luxury cars, which is probably what gave them away. Dude, if you guys are going to be cheaters, let's not go for the luxury cars, right? I get it. You want to live this baller lifestyle, but like anyone, I swear to God, who is going to get rich and spend money on things like cars, expensive cars, and bags, and like expensive bags, like what are you doing? That is so unnecessary, so unneeded. Like take that money and invest in a startup, or invest in stock, like, and put it to work. Don't just buy a stupid bag. Like that annoys me when people get money and the first thing they want to do is get flashy nonsense like a Lambo. Like what a waste of your money. You could be just the interest alone on what you could be making for the cost of a Lambo is ridiculous. But anyways, 10 people were arrested during the raid. It says this is the world's biggest cheating case due to the large sums of money in the games involved. Game companies know that cheating is a big deal, which is why they invest millions into anti-cheating software. In 2019, you can see a survey revealed that around a third of gamers admit to using cheats to improve their chances online. I think that a third of gamers also use cheats to improve their chances dating. I believe they're called negs, or pickup lines. So, I mean, once a cheater, always a cheater. Isn't that the saying? I don't know if that applies to games, but whatever. A third of gamers revealed they use cheats. I haven't used cheats since Game Genie, but if you're looking for cheats, apparently they're pretty easy to find and they're coming out of China. Just be careful, because if you're subscribing to these services, they might get busted. See you later, these guys, and don't waste your money on a Lambo. Jesus. Next story, eDNA, environmental DNA. Now, I went down a rabbit hole with this one, reading all about it so I could be informed and talk about it in some sort of intelligent manner here, as it's actually a rather complicated research paper that came out. But the gist of it is that the scientists realized that they could get environmental DNA from the water. So where fish had been, they could scoop up some DNA based on the things that the fish have touched. And they were surprised to find out that no one had attempted to do this with just air, with the air around us. And so they put together a study to see if this was possible. They took a bunch of naked mole rats. Don't know why they were naked. I mean, they could have at least given these mole rats some pants. But they took the naked mole rats and they put them in some chambers and then they ventilated the air using filters. They took those filters, put them pretty much into test tubes, broke them down using solutions and enzymes, and then checked for DNA samples in the broken down particles of the air filter. That's the rough way to explain it. It was a much more technical and jargon on the paper, and they were surprised to find out that they could identify the mole rats and that they could identify the human caretakers taking care of the mole rats. So they obviously had to go in there and feed them and bathe them because they were naked, I assume. But whatever they were doing to them, give them water, whatever they were doing to these naked mole rats, these human caretakers, the scientists found out that they actually could use environmental DNA, eDNA, to identify species in a room. And so they're thinking that they could actually commercialize this sort of software into either detecting particles like viruses in the air, so they could look for the mRNA or DNA of a virus in a filter to see if there is a virus. They could also use it on crime scenes, archaeological sites, all sort of stuff that we weren't really doing before for DNA sequencing to identify species in the area. They could also use it for, in general, the study of animals, where they go and how they move around. It's a pretty interesting, new, burgeoning field of forensics, this environmental DNA. So now we can get human DNA and animal DNA just from the air around us. I wonder if we would have figured this out without COVID-19, if maybe COVID pushed them to be more interested in the air quality around them and if they can get DNA from the air. But we can. That's the moral of the story. We can get DNA pulled from the air. That's environmental DNA. It's pretty cool. If you want to read the paper, as you can see here, I have it open. Here is the actual ear DNA proof of concept. DNA can be collected from air sampling. If we just read a little bit here, we can see what I'm talking about when it comes to the technical jargon. DNA was extracted using Quiagen DNA blood and tissue kit following the manufacturer's protocol with the following modifications. For all samples, the volumes were 450 nanoparticles, ATL buffer, larger volume to ensure that all pieces were submerged, 50 liters proteinase, K 500 nanometers AL buffer, and 500 nanometers 100% ethanol. For negative controls, the region volumes were as recommended in the Quiagen handbook. Following overnight lists, shaking 65 RPM at 56 degrees, the samples were vortexed for 15 seconds, and the liquid transferred to a fresh tube. Good thing they vortexed that liquid and transferred it to a fresh tube. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have believed that this study was real. But they vortexed it for at least 15 seconds, so you know that this is some legit science here. I actually don't know what a lot of that is. I don't even know if nanoliters is the right reading of this weird U mixed with a P and L. I'm not sure what that actually is. It's probably very easy to look up, but I have not sought it out yet. If someone knows, let us know in the comments. eDNA, look it up. It's here. You might be, if you're planning to commit crimes, maybe now is not the time to do it, since we're just going to use the air. If you breathed in the room, we're going to find out. Speaking of breathing, though, some people have breathing problems and other people have eye problems. That was the terrible segue, but we're gonna go with it. And a new single shot directly into your eye, needle in the eye, doesn't sound very pleasant, filled with an mRNA solution, the exact same kind that these vaccines, these COVID-19 vaccines are using, maybe not the exact same kind, but similar technology, mRNA technology, restored vision for so far a year to somebody who had childhood ocular degeneration. So they were born with some sort of predisposition to be blind, and now with the shot directly into their eye, they can see, and they have maintained that vision for over a year now. I think it's incredible, and it really, I don't know, makes me think of what sort of other diseases and things that we can fight using these mRNA or these minuscule RNA molecules, and what we can do with them. If we can restore vision, maybe even we can heal wounds faster. We can destroy tumors from the inside. We can, I have no idea. Maybe we can make someone regain fertility through this sort of technology. Grow fingernails. Maybe even we can inject mRNA hair into bald guys, and then people like me can regrow hair. Don't know what it is or where it'll go, but I think it's awesome. And also, I have this irrational fear of going blind. I don't know if you do watching this or listening to this, but I've got a totally irrational fear of going blind. Just ever since I've been a kid, I've been like, going blind sounds like the worst thing. There's so much to see around us. I love being able to see. And so whenever I see stories revolving around curing blindness, I get excited just in case in the future something happens and I go blind. God forbid, but man, so glad that we have new technologies that are doing this. They also, a couple weeks ago on TBDK, I talked about a study that they were doing with mice using, I don't know if it was mRNA or something else, but they restored vision completely to blind mice, I think using stem cells or something similar. So pretty soon we'll have a hopefully sweeping cure for blindness. It's pretty cool. I love this story, gives me hope, makes me excited. Next up, Deep Creep. What is Deep Creep? Deep Nostalgia, which is this thing from like MyHeritage.com. Deep Nostalgia restored motion to old photos, so you could like upload a photo of your grandpa or grandma, and it would actually add motion to them, so you could see what your grandma or grandpa was like in motion. And now they added new things that Deep Nostalgia can do. They can make your relatives dance. So we can see here on the left, she's bopping to WAP over here. Clearly, she's listening to Cardi B's WAP. You can tell that she's thinking about what is going on with the WAP. And then the other one over here is this woman who looks oddly like my Nana, like my grandma who has passed away, but she looks around and then blows a kiss. And both of these came from just one still image that somebody uploaded, which I think is incredible. So they're using deep learning, obviously, to train these photographs, and I believe 72 million photos have been animated since they released it a couple weeks ago, and it's just getting better and better. So I'm curious where they're going to take it, what sort of things that they're going to add. I don't know where else it can go, but I'm sure that if they continue to add unique movements and continue to add more and more animations, that this can actually leak over then into places like social media as we begin to inch closer and closer to Harry Potter-like photos that just come to life. So that's Deep Nostalgia. You can check it out over on myheritage.com. Yeah, and here we got these guys bopping their heads. There's a police officer and a guy in a fedora. He doesn't look like a milady fedora guy. He looks like a cool fedora guy from like the 50s or 60s. And yeah, the police officer and this fedora guy are both bopping their head probably to some music. They look like they're listening to will the real Slim Shady please stand up, I guess. And the police officer has a nice little Cindy Crawford mole going on. It's pretty cool. It's myheritage.com. Deep Creep, as we bring these old people, not these old people, these what's the word for this? Heritage? Not heretical, because that means that they're heretics. These, not ancient, because that makes them sound like dinosaurs, but these people from the past, coming to life is pretty neat. And I'm sure that people have uploaded all sorts of weird pictures of like Abraham Lincoln and stuff. That's deep nostalgia from my heritage. You can check it out. I linked it in the show notes or in the description on YouTube. Next story is UV cleaning of planes. If you didn't know this, UV or ultraviolet light actually destroys or kills viruses. Man, my camera keeps moving. Sorry, hold on, I gotta adjust this real quick. UV light kills viruses and bacteria. And so there's been some movements to try to purify air using UV light in buildings. And this company has made a thing that they can roll down the aisle of a plane, which we can see here. And it actually disinfects all of the seats and the overhead bins and the floor. And the hand rests as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it now. These guys are unpacking it, and then they load it onto the plane as they're doing the cleaning process to make sure that it has been sanitized. And I think this is really funny. So this is a startup, and I really wanted to point out something here that I think is cool, that I know that they're an early stage company, and that is the fact that on the bottom of this contraption that you see, it looks like the beverage cart with lights attached to it. They have a string attached to it, and they're clearly pulling it by hand down the aisle. It's not a person pushing it, and it's not automated. You think it would be automated with today's self-driving technology, but it's actually being pulled by a string, which tells me that they're definitely a startup and they're working on increasing the effectiveness of this product, but they still got it on the market and started using it already, which I think is very cool. And it just shows that you need to move fast with these things, and it's okay if it doesn't work exactly as expected, but you got to get it out there onto the market and start testing it in real life situations, because that's going to be the only way that you're going to make the product better, and that you're going to figure out what people want and how it's actually working is by putting it out there and using it. If this is actually working or not, I don't know if they've run the tests to make sure that it's actually sanitizing these planes, but it's still cool to see them doing this at such an early stage for me. I think it's neat seeing startups getting reported on at such an early stage and being in the market. They say that they it's so funny, they say it does it automatically so the workers don't have to, but there's clearly somebody working it by pulling it to the side. And it's not using any sort of solvents or anything. It's just UV light, ultraviolet light. It's kind of like what the sun does to the earth, cleanses the earth, which is also why I think when it's sunnier outside, we see a dip in cases, because if people are outside breathing and if the UV light is hitting, inside our houses and stuff, it's definitely killing some of like the COVID viruses. It's pretty cool. That is UV light zapping viruses aboard planes, hopefully giving you the security that you need to head back and travel. I'm not vaccinated yet, but I would say if you're vaccinated, you can start to feel pretty good about doing international travel on planes around this COVID situation. Now we're getting to some Hacker TV. I mentioned it at the top of the show. What exactly is Hacker TV? Well, hackers stole videotapes from private security cameras and they're selling them as home videotapes. This Chinese ring of people, I'm just going to call it a ring of people, have gone around to hotel rooms, probably Airbnbs, if that even exists in China, and installed their own private security cameras inside of these rooms, and then just started recording. And many of them are just boring videos of people living their lives, like laying on the couch watching Netflix or watching Tencent flicks, whatever they have in China, talking on WeChat. They mentioned in the article that one of the most popular ones that he sold hundreds of times is a video of, let's see here, a mother was lying in the sofa reading from her mobile phone. The father was half naked, enjoying a nice facial mask, while their toddler child played in front of them. The video lasted 8 hours of just this domestic, chillness, just domestic chill. Domesticate and chill, I guess, is the new lane instead of Netflix and chill. It's domesticate and chill. And he said he sold this video hundreds of times, he being the person who's running this ring. So they go on messenger sites like WeChat and they say, hey, we have these videos of households and you can actually purchase clips and watch them. So he has set meal packages for these real-time videos. You can see here, you can get 10 households for 70 Chinese yuan. You can get 10 hotels plus 10 households for 150 yuan, and then 20 hotels plus 20 households for 258 yuan. He says that he has so many video clips that you can't finish them all within 6 months, even if you watch them at 24 hours a day. So that's a lot of video clips. And I believe he also went on to say that he doesn't care if this is illegal and doesn't care if his cameras are found after installing them in hotels because it's cheap and he already has the video footage saved anyways. So he'll make it up no matter what. He'll recoup his funds. This is apparently very illegal, obviously. And in China is very interesting because they have this unfortunate citizen tracking, facial tracking going on. So if the government were to actually buy all of his recordings, they could run their facial tracking software on it and then potentially find out or affect someone's citizen score using these videos. So it's actually a huge deal and very illegal. Normal scenes in hotel rooms, 20 yuan for video. Scenes showing nudity or sexual acts. So they even got nudity and sexual acts, which again could, I feel like, affect someone's citizen score. Man, it's so messed up. And to do a little translation here, 50 yuan is US $8, and the normal ones are just $3 to watch 8 hours of a normal hotel footage. Why you would want to do that, I have no idea, but I guess while you're like working, if we're all stuck home during the pandemic and you just want to have some domesticate and chill on to the side while you work, go for it. If I have any Chinese watchers, which I highly doubt, let me know if you bought some videos from this guy and how that went for you. The video clips are just, chill videos. But then there's a part of me that also sees like a business opportunity in this. Like if you could get home security footage or home camera footage, just domestic footage legally and sell that for people to watch, like I guess there's a pretty booming business for it. If he's selling videos of this toddler family chilling for hundreds of times, like that's a huge business. And it's very interesting. So Hacker TV, if you want to check it out, there's Hacker TV over in China. Download WeChat and you can find domestic videos. More importantly though, speaking of hacked things, Facebook. I'm not a fan of Facebook. If you know anything about me, if you watch my other show, the Go Joe Show on YouTube, I have talked about this to no end. I'm not a fan of Facebook. I deleted my Facebook almost 4 years ago now because I didn't like that they were tracking me. I didn't like all the data that they were collecting on me, so I deleted my account. And just now is coming to light that 533 million Facebook users have been leaked online on the deep web. We can see here on the screen the tweet discussing this on the dark web. It says, this means if you have a Facebook account, it is extremely likely that the phone number used for that account was leaked. I've yet to see Facebook acknowledging this absolute negligence of your data. So this person's actually, looking out for people. And you can see the number of affected accounts. I have Facebook 533 million records, 106 countries. He says his Telegram is, or the hacker says their Telegram is blah, blah, blah. It's X'd out. Just to give some numbers here, Afghanistan, 500,000 accounts, Africa, 14 million accounts, Angola, 50,000 accounts, Argentina, 2 million accounts. So this is no small data leak. This is a huge data leak. And if you actually dive into the numbers, it lists that the details include phone number, Facebook ID, full name, location, past location, birth date, sometimes if they included it, email address, link to the account creation, relationship status, and the bio. Bad actors will certainly use this information for social engineering, aka stealing credit card accounts, scamming, hacking, and marketing. It's an incredibly revealing data leak. 553 million people affected all over the world. Tyler Hunt or Troy Hunt, creator of Have I Been Pwned database. That's a website you can go on to, haveibeenpwned.com. That's owned with a P, pwned. And you can put in your email address to see if you have been hacked. I believe that this person... No, he hasn't included it yet on his website, but he said, I haven't seen anything yet to suggest that this breach isn't legit. In the data, he found only about 2.5 million unique email addresses, which is still a lot, but apparently the greatest impact here is the phone numbers. Yes, I fully agree with that. Hunt has already loaded the leaked email addresses into Have I Been Pwned, meaning you can check to see if yours was part of the data set. And he's also considering whether or not to make the leaked phone numbers available through the same service. So if you go on Have I Been Pwned, Troy Hunt is seeing if, is planning on, I guess, implementing these phone numbers onto the website. I encourage you to do it, though. If you have been a citizen of the internet for years, you should go on haveibeenpwned.com and check to see if your passwords have been stolen from any of the leaks that have happened over the years. There's been multiple from websites such as, I think, like LinkedIn at one point, or Salesforce, Mashable. I don't remember exactly where they're from, but lots and lots of websites have had leaks over the years. Let's see here. Travel Oklahoma, Liker, WeLeak Info, Carding Mafia, Facebook, Ticket Counter, Super VPN, Oxfam accounts. These are just the ones added recently. Largest breaches are things like Facebook, exploit.in, MySpace accounts, Wattpad accounts. Yeah, so there's a lot of places that you could have been leaked. I know that when I've checked mine, I'm not going to do it live on this show, but a couple of my email addresses have actually been included in some pwned, some old email addresses, so I encourage you to check that out. I hope you have not been, but again, the link is in the show notes or in the description below to Have I Been Pwned. Pop your email address in there and make sure that your accounts are secured. We got 3 more stories here. First one is that scientists connect the human brain to a computer wirelessly for the first time. Another thing that I've been talking a lot about on my Go Joe Show channel is these brain interfaces, these neuro interfaces from companies like Kernel and BrainGate, which is the purveyor of this one. BrainGate is focused mainly on restoring, I guess, movement? Not movement. What is the word I'm looking for? They're restoring... not activity, they're restoring, Jesus Christ, I can't think of the word. They're empowering people who have been paralyzed to take action again, to interact with computers, to try to live some sort of life outside of paralysis. And what BrainGate does is they have an invasive surgery, so they have to actually install a chip in the person's brain. And previously, you had to be tethered, so they would install this chip with a port, and they'd have to plug into it in order to monitor your brain and empower you to actually interact with the computer, you being the paralyzed person. However, they just released new technology that empowers a person to do this wirelessly, which is a huge deal because they can, one, lay in bed or sit in their wheelchair and interact with the computer without being tethered, so they can still move around the room, or have a caretaker still take care of them while they're also interacting with the caretaker via like a voice-over service. And then additionally, they can then monitor them at home. So if they're connected wirelessly, it means that they don't actually have to come into a lab or go somewhere. They can be connected at home, and the researchers and medical technicians can remotely monitor them. So it's a huge step forward. It's very interesting. It definitely won't make its way down into normal consumer life for quite a couple of years, but a project called Neuralink is working on that, and another one called Kernel. They're making these headsets. Kernel is making headsets. Neuralink is having an invasive surgery where you actually have to go under the knife, but they have made a surgery robot to assist with that, and then you would be able to kind of, interface with a computer, be able to maybe download your memories and do all sorts of really interesting stuff. They're currently running experiments on pigs, and BrainGate is currently focused on paralyzed humans. So this stuff is coming. It'll still be probably 2 decades before we really see this integrated into humanity, but it's very cool regardless, especially if you think about it being like mixed together with augmented and mixed reality. The types of places that we'll see this go could be incredible. Oh yeah, I forgot I included this story. I'm just gonna read the headline because it made me laugh. It says, for the first time, scientists find X-rays coming from UrAnus. Dude, from my anus, no, UrAnus. The planet, not the person watching this. X-rays coming from UrAnus, the planet. But what a hilarious headline. Scientists find X-rays coming from UrAnus. Well, why have scientists been looking at my ass? You tell me that, huh, scientists? Quit looking at my ass. It's my anus, it's not UrAnus. And there's no X-rays coming out of it. I swear to God, I didn't put my phone there. Yep. Last two stories here. Actually, another one that I snuck in. Tim Cook had an interview with Kara Swisher, one of my favorite tech journalists, and said that they are focused on AR content and things around making conversations better by having, if like you and I outside of this podcast, we're having a conversation both with AR glasses. I could just pop up a chart that you could see in your vision, in your vocal, in your visual spectrum. And then we can make conversations better by having shared Wikipedia articles and stuff that are just hovering in front of us, which I think is pretty rad. That's not coming this year, but it's definitely going to be coming soon, this augmented reality content, mixed reality content. I think it's going to revolutionize a lot of things. It's going to be a new layer on top of reality, kind of like when the internet first started. There's going to be all sorts of craziness. .com bubble. It's going to have some sort of like geolocation bubble where you can own a piece of, land outside if you reserve that land in sort of like a .com bubble, I'm sure. And then you can also have multiple layers. You know how we have .com and .org? We can have .com and .org layers of reality. It's insane. I've talked about it on my show a couple times, but I think it's very cool. Second to last story here is Microsoft now submerging servers into liquid baths. I just like this picture because we always talk about how we don't want our electronics in like getting rain on it or sweat on it or having things spilled on it. And then you can see here in this picture behind me that Microsoft has now taken their server racks and just immersed them in water, really taking water cooling to a whole new level. It looks hilarious. It just looks like a bunch of wires in a boiling water bath. Yeah, a very large bath. So Microsoft is testing this out. I guess crypto miners have been using this to increase the efficiency of their mining operations, and it actually is more energy efficient than current methods. So I think it's pretty cool that we're just giving these servers baths and that it actually reduces failure rate and it increases uptime and effectiveness. But it's very funny to see them doing this. And it's also nice that they have RGB. So they've got RGB lights on these servers inside of the baths. Of course, you got to have cool looking RGB on any custom built PC or bath. Here too is a picture of a guy pulling a server rack out of the water. And it's dripping wet. It's so funny to see that. Like, you're not supposed to get stuff wet. And then they're just like, yeah, you know what? Fuck that. We're putting it underwater. The last story today is my favorite. Space Hotel taking reservations. The world's ever space hotel is now taking reservations. The Voyager's class space station is scheduled to open its doors to guests in 2027 with rooms to accommodate as many as 280 people at once. In addition to hotel rooms, the Voyager class space station hotel will host several bars and restaurants as well as a cinema, gym, and spa, because what else would you want to do when you're floating in space but go to the gym? I think that'd be the last thing that I'd be worried about, honestly, if I was floating in space. Construction of the hotel is not set to begin until 2026, but you can already make your reservations, my friends, my watchers. According to the Travel and Leisure, I don't know, is that a blog, Travel and Leisure? A 3.5 day at the Space Hotel will cost a smooth $5 million, which includes travel on the SpaceX Starship shuttle to get there and back from the Space Hotel $5 million, I got that laying around, no problem. I'll be one of the first people there up on that space hotel. I'm already going to book this right as soon as I finish recording this. $5 million. Yeah, right. Anyone who wishes to stay in the Voyager station will have to train prior to their journey, but the lack of gravity in space shouldn't be too much of a problem, as the ring-shaped hotel will have its own artificial gravity. The blog Interesting Engineering explains that the hotel will spin around like a Ferris wheel using centrifugal force to simulate moon levels of gravity. So although guests shouldn't expect to be floating in the air, they should experience much more weightlessness than here on Earth, which would make activities like basketball and the spa even more fun. If you want to make a reservation, there's a link in this article. It's being built and developed by the Orbital Assembly Corporation, a company made up of NASA veterans which aims to colonize space, starting with the Space Hotel. So will you be joining me up on the Space Hotel? Dude, if you're paying $5 million, you better be chilling there for at least a month, because you gotta make it worth it, man. $5 million just to go up to space and look at the Earth. That is, though, pretty excellent. Like, that might be priceless to see Earth from outer space. That the one thing the astronauts at the space station and on the space shuttle missions say is that when you look back on Earth, there is something that comes over you, and you realize just life becomes both less meaningful and more meaningful at the same time, and that it is an experience that cannot be replicated by anything else. And I got to imagine that that's true when you're up there in space looking back, and you're like, holy cow, the planet is so big. There's so many people. I'm so small. Like, everything, like, there's so much out there in the universe, all these planets. It's got to be a very humbling experience. And maybe it is worth that cool $5 million. That's been today's Too Busy Didn't Know the podcast and show. If you are listening, please subscribe to my show and send it to a friend. That'd be the biggest compliment you can give me. Otherwise, if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed it. And feel free to give me comments and feedback on how I can improve the show and make this even better every single week. I'm trying to make it faster and shorter so that it really is short content. Although I tend to have to explain a lot. I feel like I talk a lot. But if you enjoy it, I'm glad you did. And I hope soon to be part of the Podcast network of podcasts and shows. This has been Go Joe. Didn't know. Come back next week, every Wednesday, for content around business, technology, startups, science. And until next